Good morning to all. Today is the fourth day of our international workshop. In freelance session, we have Dr. Sudeshna Lahiri and Dr. Moitrey Datto as a resource person. I welcome Mr. Bhaktodas Mondol and Professor Rajkumar Samanto. Professor Rajkumar Samanto, Professor Rajkumar Samanto here.
Yes, sir. I am here, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. So I over to Professor Rajkumar Samanto, sir, for continuing this session. Thank you.
Good morning to all the dignitaries here. I am Rajkumar Samanto from Bidhan Shodhan B.Ed College of Women in Social Action. Today is the fourth day of a week multidisciplinary international workshop organized by International Quality Awareness Cell and Research and Development Cell, Kalinagar Mahavidyalaya, in collaboration with Baba Saheb Ambedkar Education University, erstwhile WBUTTEPA. As a moderator, first of all, I would thank Mr. Sheikh Samir and Mr. Shomita Mondal to present their valuable report of the previous resource person speech before us. Now, I am going to request Mr. Bhaktodas Mondal to introduce before us of today's research person.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. I am Bhaktodas Mondal, Assistant Professor of Pratap Chandra College of Education in the Department of B.Ed, and I am a research scholar of Manas Sarovar Global University, Madhya Pradesh. Today is the fourth day of a week online multidisciplinary international workshop on research methodology organized by Internal Quality Assurance Cell and Research and Development Cell, Kalinagar Mahavidyalaya, in collaboration with Baba Saheb Ambedkar University. Now, I am exclusive and immense pleasure to introduce Honorable Dr. Sudeshna Lahiri as a resource person of this session. Dr. Sudeshna Lahiri is working with University of Calcutta. Previously, she served in Benares Hindu University as assistant professor. She has been the recipient of major research project funded by University Grant Commission and ICSSR, and team member of mega research project launched by National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration. She is an active correspondent of Indian Educational Abstract, NCERT, India. Her research areas are teachers' performance appraisal and environmental psychology. She has received Stipendium Hungarian Fellowship, Fulbright Nehru Visiting Lecturer Fellowship, and International Visitor Leadership Program by US Department of State, USA. She is the coordinator of Erasmus plus ICM program between Department of Education, University of Calcutta, and Eötvös Loránd University, Hungary. She has published research papers, chapters in books, and edited books. She is the member of Research Advisory Committee in a couple of universities. She has development of e-content, massive open online course, and deliver lectures for DLED and Master in Arts program. Her international academic visits include South Korea, Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, USA, Taiwan, UK, and Hungary. During her studentship, she recorded science talk for All India Radio. So, please welcome Honorable Dr. Sudeshna Lahiri, and I am requesting her to present her valuable presentation before us. Thank you. Stay home.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I think most of you are from different stream of studies, or are you from the same branch of study?
Ma'am, this is a multidisciplinary international workshop.
Okay,
So-
great. Thank you. Thank you so much. So this is nice to meet you all. Perhaps this is the forum where we can meet with other streams as well, and we can exchange our views and opinion and how we used to do our research in different stream of studies, because we differ not only in subject but sometimes what type of approaches we are employing. So in this presentation I would just give you the general idea, not the specific about a particular stream of study, but a general idea how to do a quantitative research report, right? Like when we say that, good morning, Shri Pradeep Kumar Mondal, thank you so much. I can see your message in the chat box, and there are plenty. So thank you so much, Kiran Subba, Kollan Mondal, Pradeep Kumar Mondal. So I will read all the messages in between whenever I will get the window to read you all. So So this in this session, I will just discuss a few of the steps, general steps we usually follow in uh, cutting across the subjects. And so in this presentation, I'm just without wasting much of your time, I'm going directly to my uh, presentation. Okay, just give me a little bit of time because I'm not very tech savvy. So although we have done all our uh, presentation and lectures in uh, online mode, but still I am not very uh, comfortable with this presentation and how to do presentation. Okay, so let me share my presentation. So can you see my presentation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is how to write a quantitative research article. So why I am saying quantitative research article? Because in social sciences, there are quantitative, qualitative, and mixed researches are there, where the reports are on the basis of reports of the research are on the basis of whether it's a qualitative research or quantitative research. That means whether the analysis, data, and reporting is in numbers or in narrative. So, on the basis of that, a research article is quantitative or qualitative, or sometimes it is mixed or multi method researches. I'm just giving you few of the very general kind of steps which you can find in any subject. But in case your particular subject is having any peculiarity which is not matching with general steps, any particular step which is not in general step, please share with me. It would help me to refine my uh, presentation. So the first thing is, what is research article? Research article, I have written certain thing in my presentation, but you will find that I am discussing something out of the way, or I am going, or I am not restricting myself in the presentation itself. So I have prepared some slides, but you won't be able, like sometimes I will go beyond it, or sometimes I go out of the slide so that we can connect with each other. So, what is research article? It is basically the documentation, how you have done the research. So, it starts from inception of the problem, how you have identified the problem, and the whole it is the documentation of the whole travel of your research, and at the end, what is your result? But result does not it is not the end of the story, but you have to make the implementation or implication and the suggestion for the future research as well. So until you give this implementation, implication, future research of the studies, and of course you should also uh, tell your reader about the limitation of the study, where you cannot where had been your lacuna of your study. So this is also, so be honest in writing this. So it is just honestly, systematically documenting the whole travel of your research. So characteristics of research article, if I go by this, characteristics of an effective research article, because we are talking about the documentation of the quantitative research. So how you do research is different thing, but how we are documenting is something a little different, because whether it's effective or not, If it is effective, your research article is going to be accepted in reputed journal, or it will get many of the downloads. If you visit the website of the journal, you will find that how many times it got downloaded and how many times it got viewed. So, what makes an article effective? Firstly, it should be focused, because whatever important information is there, um, it should be focused. For example, it depends upon the uh, title and problem of your study. So there may be many information which you will find very effective, very important, and you every information you would like to document in your research article. But sometimes what happens, too many information which you are thinking that it may be important may not be very focused. Like, you have to only your all the information what you are documenting in your research article should revolve around the research problem you are stating. It should not go beyond that. It should not be swell out of the proportion. Now, accuracy. Accuracy is that your research article should not mislead the reader. Like, there shouldn't be any concocted data. There shouldn't be any cooked data. Sometimes what happens that that data is you have SPSS and various software where data can be like randomized, or if you give the option, so 100 data may be blown out of, like, out of proportion, or sometimes it may happen that it will give you 100, it will randomize the data, and you will very easily you can make it 200 or 300. And clarity, it should be very clear. It should not confuse the reader. That is why what I am saying, that because we have to write our research article in English. The English is the communication language or communicating language for research article. I would like to request you to make the English as simple as you can, because most of your reader will be from non-English speaking countries. Because if you go if you see the like various country, you will find that mostly US and UK are two major countries where English is the official language or language for communication and conversation. But most of the countries in the world are non-English speaking. So what happens? You are basically not only communicating your result and article to US and UK, but for whole world. So there are many of the readers, they are from non-English speaking countries. And what happens that they are like us, like Indians, that we read English, but sometimes if it is the jugglery of words, or it is written in very flowery English, or in a very, like, I should be saying, literary English, like in literature, that kind of English, it would be very difficult for, like, the purpose is lost. You are basically you are the student of, you become the student of English literature rather than a particular subject. Now, what is quantitative research? Quantitative research is that when the study um, is using numerical data, like data is in numbers, and the results you are finding out of is also in number. Of course, your interpretation will be not be in number, because result is not the end. Result is just whenever you have processed the data, you have analyzed the data, whatever result you are getting or outcome is you are getting, it is just a step uh, from this point of your journey. You have to give the implication analysis and discussion and your limitation. It is always uh, get compared with the previous researches. Now, quantitative research article. What is quantitative research article? It is a report. It is basically a report of your research journey. So if I focus main on it, it is a reporting of a quantitative data, means what you have learned from your data. It means that whatever quantitative data you are using, what is the story do you have to tell about your conducted research. So it is you are just telling a tale. A quantitative data means presentation of the analysis and interpretation of your data. And in this reporting, you are using, in any quantitative research article, you are using not only some numbers, but tables will be there, diagrams will be there, graphs will be there, photographs and mathematical expression may be there. Reporting data is the story weaved through analysis. It is given by one or few of the researchers from Monash University and Silverman in 2005. So it is about the story weaved through analysis and interpretation of data. So to tell this tale, we have three approaches. One is hypothesis story. Like, what is hypothesis story? It is to state your hypothesis. You have to test your hypothesis, and after testing the hypothesis, whatever you are getting, you have to discuss the implication. This is the hypothesis story. The next one is analytic story, where it is mostly used in social sciences. So, in this story, what you are going to do, what are the key concepts of your research, and whatever finding you have, arrived at, how these findings are throwing light on your concept, because you have already identified the key concepts of your research. Next is whatever discussion you have done in your identified concept, how it is throwing light on substantive topics, because you have already framed a title or the research problem. So, how it is throwing a light on substantive topics. And then, what therefore has become your original research problem and the literature regarding it. The last one is the mystery story, because we are telling the story. So, three types of story you are basically used in your research. Any one of them is a hypothesis story, analytic story, or mystery story. So, what is mystery story? It starts from empirical examples. Now you start discussing this empirical example and develop your question out of it. And then you are sequentially interpreting the material and the general implications you are drawing out of this empirical examples. What are the steps of quantitative researches? So if we go by that, firstly, theory deductive approach, because you have to frame the research problem, you have to you have to frame the research problem, and you have to do before framing the research problem, you have to do the literature review. On the basis of literature review, you are identify the gap areas, gap in the knowledge, and on the basis of gap, you are framing your research problem. And during the framing of your research problem, you are framing some hypothesis. By hypothesis is basically hypo plus thesis, which is prior to thesis. And what is thesis? Thesis means the result. So any assumption prior to the result is hypothesis. So now you will going to decide the research design. What is research design? Research design is uh, now here we you are basically um, explaining that what kind of approach you are going to employ in the research. For example, whether it is sure that it is a quantitative research because we are discussing quantitative research, but how you are going to collect your data. So every one of you are having several methods of collecting data in your respective field of study. So you have to define or decide the how you are collecting the data. What are the methods of it? What may be the instrument or the tools of collecting data? Once you have decided the collecting data, before that you have decided the tool of collecting data. You have decided how to collect the data. Now next thing is that how you are going to analyze the data. So basically what you are doing, you are designing your research. When you are designing your research, it is a research design. You are keeping the whole thing under the um, broad subheading of research design. Then operationalizing the concepts. So because there are certain concepts you need to operationalize. Operationalize means how there may be several definitions given by different uh, mm, different researchers. You will find several concept in review of related literature, but you may be having certain or how you are dealing with some idea, some operational preferences of dealing with these concepts in your research. So this is operationalizing. So you are defining, you are deciding the boundaries of and limitations of your concept, how you are going to deal certain concepts which are occurring in your research. So how you are going to deal in your research. Selection of research site, what it may be. Research site, and research site means it depends upon, again I'm saying that your field of study. If it is social sciences, so in behavioral sciences, what may be your research site? It may be educational institution, it may be any jail inmates, or it may be any like mm, any organization in corporate house, or any library, or anything. So, in your research, what may be your research site? Then, selection of respondents. Who may be your respondents? So, in behavioral sciences, I can tell you that it may be office staff, it may be doctors, it may be anyone. So, you have to define it. And just for a moment. So I need to switch on my AC because it is uh, a little humid. Just give me one more minute. Sorry. So um, next is data collection. Data collection is how you are going to collect your data. So what may be your procedure and what may be your method. For example, it may be a questionnaire, it may be a scale, it may be interview, or in engineering and sciences, it may be lab study or anything. So processing of data, because earlier we were used to do all the calculation manually, but right now we are having sophisticated softwares, statistical softwares, which can process your data. Okay. So processing of data, like for example, sometimes raw data you have collected, you have to normalize it. So you have to convert it into another form. Maybe if the data is collected in narratives, you have to code it. If the data is collected in a particular raw form, you have to change it in any other form. For example, if there may be age. For example, because I am from education, so I am giving an example from education. If I am collecting the data regarding teacher age, so what may be processing of data? I have collected the teacher age of 100 teachers. So my processing of data will be, I have converted all the data into groups. For example, I have um, categorized in three groups: teachers from 20 years to 30 years, 20 years to 45 years, 45 years to 55 years, and 55 onwards. So what I am going to do, keeping all the 100 teachers into three groups, but what I am doing that for group 1, I am giving all the teacher age as 1. 1 is the code. All the teacher age corresponding to the group 2, age group 2, that is 45 to 55, I am giving them the code 2. All the uh, teacher age corresponding to the age group of 55 onwards, I am giving them the code as 3. So that means I am processing the data into three categories: 1, 2, and 3. Now, data analysis. So, for data analysis, there are different softwares you can use it. And finally, findings and conclusions after data analysis. Whatever results you have arrived at, on the basis of that, you will discuss it. And your discussion is based on two different things. One is the comparison of uh, your result, whatever you have got out of data analysis from the previous researchers, and second one is the contrasting. So how different your result may be from the previous study. So it is finding out of the similarity and dissimilarity of results, what the other studies have uh, arrived at and what you have received in your data analysis. And on the basis of that, you have to write your conclusion. For example, that previous study has not considered this factor, but in this study, this particular factor is being considered. That is why the data is, that is why the result is something different. Or maybe the sample size, what we have considered, is not large enough. That is why our finding is different. Lastly, we prepare the whole document as for the publication of the research. So you will communicate your research article, whatever you have written, to different research journals. Now, major sections in reporting the quantitative researches. So first is introduction, second is literature review and methodology. So in introduction, it is important to write what, why, and how. You have to write the context also. The context may be social, scientific, historical, economic, or cultural. You have to write the objectives of your research, because it is very important and most laying stone of the research is objective. There may be major objective, one broad objective, and there may be specific objectives within the purview of this major objective. And then hypothesis, there should be hypothesis because you are going to test it. The hypothesis and why this hypothesis is this. So there may be two types of hypothesis, null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis. Why you are taking null hypothesis or alternative hypothesis, you have to write the reason behind the particular type of hypothesis. Now, literature review. It is important to give a sound literature review. And you cannot write one or two literature and quoting or citing two or three previous researches. It should be considered. It should be in considerable volume. Methodology. Methodology should be the method of research and rationale behind the method. So there is a difference between research method and research methodology. When we say that research method means you are just writing down the what method you are using. For example, what may be the sample size, what may be your population, what may be your data analysis process, what may be your data collection process. But methodology means that you are also writing the reason behind why you are opting or going for this particular type of data collection, population, sample size, data analysis, data collection. Now the major section within the major section, the research and discussion, and in the research result and discussion, outcome of proposed methodology, simulation, calculation, use tables, figures, and graphs, data analysis and interpretation of result, compare result, prove the validity of results using statistics, perform critical analysis, reasons from observed facts, evidence of generalization of the result, the strengths of limitations of the research, discussion on theoretical implication of research. Conclusions. Summary of the contribution of the paper similar to the introduction, original contribution, method, data sets, comparative analysis, summary of the quantitative result, summary of the key impact of the result, suggestion for future result. Next is major section. Under major section, last very important thing is acknowledgement. You have to acknowledge the people and the institution that contributed to or financed the research. It is very important thing. You cannot skip this section. It may seem to be irrelevant, but it is very relevant. Reference is very much important because you are giving the due regard, due birth to all the previous researches that you have cited in your research, what you have referred in your research in the running text. Now, quick tips in writing sections in quantitative research. The main where the problem arises are the research methodology. So I'm discussing this part only. For example, in methodology, you should have method. You should write the method, also the reason behind choosing that particular method. So you have to write both the things. So what you are going to write, the type of research you did. It may be quantitative, it may be qualitative, it may be the mixed research. How did you collect your data? How did you analyze your data? What and which tool or material you used in research? What is the rationale behind for choosing these methods? Because you have to give the advocacy. You are basically an advocate. While you are writing a research article, that means you are advocating your own deeds. In methodology section, you have to explain the methodological approaches. For example, what was your research question or objective? Did your research meet numerals? Whether at all it is needed, you have to write it. You know that it is a quantitative research, but the reader doesn't know whether it is a quantitative research, when he or she is reading gradually one by one section. Did you hold experiment having controlling or manipulating data, or you ran survey to collect data, or used descriptive data? Why is this most suitable approach to answering research questions? Is this a standard methodology in your field, or does it require justification? What are the criteria for validity and reliability in this type of research? Step 2, methods or data collection. What are the tools and procedure for your research? What is the level of measurement for each of the variable under your study? How many respondents you took for data collection? How did you prepare the Step 3, description of methods of data analysis. How did you prepare the data before analyzing it? Uh, which statistical software did you use to analyze the data? Which inferential statistics, parametric or non parametric, did you use? What was your level of significance? These you have to write while data analysis. Now, you have to evaluate and justify the methodological choices. Why did this method of research suitable for you? You have to write it. Okay, so what I have said, that you are basically not only telling a tale, but you are behaving as an advocate. That is why you are different from storyteller and a researcher. Uh, Being a researcher, for example, a storyteller keeps certain thing in dark. He weaves on story and goes on with his story, his or story, and at the end there is a finishing line. But as a researcher, you are weaving the story, and for every step, with every weave, you are advocating why this has been weaved like this. Evaluate and justify the methodological choices. This is the step 4. So what does it say? It says, why did this method of research suitable for you? You have to write this. Why the other methods were not suitable for your research, because you have to write both the side of the story. Methodology section again says, recommendation for writing methodology section. Information to be given in the section, accurate and complete interpretation of the study, setting, procedures and analysis, comparison, contrast, generalization with other studies and settings, replication, use past tenses to describe the methods used and data collected. How to write result. For quantitative report, the data displayed through diagram, graphs, table, mathematical expression, and photographs follows. So locational element, which is diagrams, graphs, tables, and photographs. Summary of information presented. While locational element, that while putting diagram, graphs, tables, and photographs, anything you are using, any pictorial form you are using, you have to be very picky and choosy that where should this appear in your research article. What may be the page, the paragraph after, where it should appear, because when you are giving any diagram or graph or table or photograph, that means you want to make your research more visible, more clarity should be there. That is why you are using it. So it should be in a relevant page, and after or before relevant paragraph. Highlighting and declaring statement to give what is significant in overall presentation, trends, patterns, results that stand out. So when you are summing up your data, summing up of your result, you have to write down the trends, patterns, results that stands out. Quick tips in writing sections in quantitative research. So there are how to write discussion part. So discussion part is very, very important. Not only very important, it is very sensitive as well. Because while you are writing a discussion, you are basically comparing and contrasting with previous researches. Not only that, you are forecasting some trends, or you are forecasting some futuristic opinion or idea about the research. Also, you are stating or narrating the present trends. So, it is explanation, comparison between the results, comments on whether the results are expected or unexpected, comments about unsatisfactory data. So, if I go through by the discussion further, what there are like situation style example. If I go by these two broad uh, part of the discussion, it is something like that. The situation may be the difference between expected and obtained results, and writing style is maybe due to, because when you are finding something different from what you have expected or what has been cited in your previous researches. So, in writing, the writing style may be a little hesitant. That is, you have to write maybe due to. An example, what you will cite, or sorry, and the reason you may be citing, and for examples, the incorrect calibration of the instrument. Similarly, if the situation is discrepancy, any discrepancy uh, you are finding in your research, your writing style may be like this, may be attributed to, and the example of such statement is maybe it may be attributed to the small sample size, or it may be attributed to the homogeneity of the um, population, something like that. Again, if the situation is something like that, there is anomaly in the observations. So you have 100 observations and you are finding some observations are peculiar. So the writing style may be like that. May may probably be accounted for. And the after writing style, I would say what may be such example is by a defect in the camera. If there are certain peculiar observations are there, your writing style is like that. May probably be accounted for disproportionate data taken or defect in the camera, sudden breakdown of the instrument. Situation is, if the situation is the lack of statistical significance, in that case, the writing style is may probably be consequence of. And the example is something like that. May probably consequences of weaknesses in the experimental data. May probably a consequence of less reliable instrument constructed. Again, the tense. What kind of tense we are going to use in our report? If the locational element is there, locational element means there may be picture, there may be graphs, there may be diagrams, or maybe tables. So present tense is used. The result have been shown in table, figure, diagram. This is the example. If the context is summary of procedure, you are writing summary of procedure. It is past tense because you have already done the research. So it is past tense. In past tense, you are writing it. So in one research article, you are using present tense as well as past tense, depending on what section you are writing. In result of analysis, again you are writing past tense because you have already done and now you are reporting. In comment section, where you are doing the discussion or conclusion, or any suggestion for future research is present tense. Factors contributing to a good research report. Report is storytelling of whole research journey, a robust introduction of the research problem, strong write-up on need of the study to be conducted, clear sequential and logical format, a clear research objective, robust and suitability of the methodology, grounded related literature about the research topic. Please check the grammar and spelling. Sometimes my uh, communicated research paper is sent back to me with a note that please check the grammar. And I'm very candidly confessing it. Literature is related to research problem, report revolving around the instrument for data collection, pictorial presentations, clear with messages, clear and suitable, title should be there. So there are certain source and references which I have quoted in my presentation, and this is the thank you slide, and I would like to discuss more rather than speaking more. So can you please discuss, because whatever I have presented in my presentation, I would request that if anyone draw the similarity and the similarity with their subject. Okay, there is one. Ma'am, can you please change your slide in slideshow mode? Oh, sorry, I missed your. Somehow I missed your comment. I'm sorry about that. So anyone, please. I'm sure that you are not all from education or B.Ed college or like that. Boishaki Nag, you are saying something.
Good morning, ma'am. Thanks for your wonderful deliberation. I have a request rather. Can you please give your email ID in the chat box? Or rather, can you supply us with the study material of today's lecture session?
Yeah, it's not very difficult. If you give me a line of, if you drop me a line of request, I will give you. This is my email ID.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, let's start with how many of you have communicated your research article, which is quantitative. আপনারা নিশ্চয়ই রিসার্চ পেপারস লিখেছেন, তো কারা কারা রিসার্চ পেপারস পাবলিশ করেছেন সেটা একটু বলবেন। বিশ্বজিৎ বাবু, আপনাকেই তাহলে
Good morning, madam. Good morning.
গুড মর্নিং।
Madam, yes, I would like to request participant and our faculty members, both the college, everybody, you can one by one interact with madam. Last December, when we organized offline this type of research methodology course, that time madam also present with us. So I would like to request participant and faculty members, you can share your knowledge with madam.
Madam, hello.
হ্যাঁ বলুন বলুন।
Madam, actually, I am the faculty member of Kailinagar Mahavidyalaya, Dr. Kollan Kumar Mondal, and convener of Research and Development Cell.
Okay.
Actually, I hear the total of your what you speak. It's a very necessary and beneficial to us because not only education, subject of education, it is related. My subject is geography. There are some sort of relations between education, geography, sociology, history. All the students, all the participants of different disciplines must be beneficial from your lectures. It's a very good, lucid, and very effective speech from where just we can learn so many things. Thank you, madam.
Thank you so much. Moushumi madam is there. Can you please, Moushumi madam has raised her hand.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am,
Yes.
first of all, ma'am, a very good morning. এবং ম্যাম এত সুন্দর একটা ইনফরমেটিভ লেকচার ডেলিভার করার জন্য অনেক থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম। ম্যাম আমি
Please introduce yourself. I would like to request participant also, when you talk this platform, please introduce yourself because this is the interaction session. The workshop is going on online mode. So this is the most important platform. Everybody we can কি বলবো একে অপরের সঙ্গে পরিচয় হওয়ার একটা বিরাট বড় প্ল্যাটফর্ম। সুতরাং এই আলোচনার মাধ্যমে আমরা আরো ভালো কাছাকাছি আসতে পারবো। সেই জন্য যেহেতু ম্যাডামের সঙ্গে ইন্টারাকশন চলছে, একটু আপনারা কাইন্ডলি আপনাদের বেসিক ইন্ট্রোডাকশনও দিয়ে দেবেন যে আপনারা কোথায় আছেন।
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. So, ma'am, presently I'm working as an assistant professor in Sri Ramakrishna BT College, Darjeeling, and also pursuing my research work, actually. So, ma'am, generally, যেটা পাবলিশ করতে গিয়ে দেখেছি বা হয়েছে মানে যেখানে পাবলিশ করেছি তাদের একটা নিজস্ব ফরম্যাট সবসময় তারা প্রোভাইড করেছে যে সেই ফরম্যাটেই মানে লেখার ব্যাপারটা থাকে আর কি, স্পেশালি রিসার্চ আর্টিকেলস গুলো। তো সেক্ষেত্রে ম্যাম আমার যেটা মানে আরেকটা ম্যাম যেটা আমরা স্ট্রাগল করি, আমিও এডুকেশন ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড থেকেই, তো আমিও এডুকেশনের রিসার্চ করছি। তো ওয়্যার টু পাবলিশ ম্যাম এটা একটা খুব বড় প্রশ্ন, কারণ এখন তো একটা ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্ট আমরা জানি সবাই যে একটা ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্ট রয়েছে। তো অনেক ক্ষেত্রেই দেখা যাচ্ছে যে সেগুলো ভীষণ ফ্লাকচুয়েটিং, মানে আজকে হয়তো সেটা কেয়ার লিস্টে আছে, কালকে সেটা নেই। তো ম্যাম আপনি যদি একটু সাজেস্ট করেন ম্যাম এই এডুকেশনাল রিসার্চ সংক্রান্ত পাবলিকেশন আমরা কোথায় কিভাবে করতে পারি তাহলে খুব ভালো হয় আর কি।
আচ্ছা, থ্যাংক ইউ মৌসুমি। আমি তুমিই বলছি, তুমি নিশ্চয়ই আমার থেকে ছোট।
হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, নিশ্চয়ই, একদম।
আমি যেটা বলবো যে ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্ট, হ্যাঁ এটা একদম ঠিক কথা কি ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্ট আজকে যে জার্নালটা আছে কালকে সেই জার্নালটা বাইরেও বেরিয়ে যেতে পারে, আবার নতুন কোনো জার্নাল অ্যাডও হতে পারে। ইউজিসি একটা প্রভিশন করেছে স্কোপাসে কারা আছে। তো স্কোপাসে অনেক এরকম মানে জার্নালস আছে যেগুলো কিন্তু ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্টে নেই। তাই জন্য ইউজিসি কিন্তু সেই প্রভিশনটা যখন খুলেছে যে স্কোপাস যেই জার্নালগুলো স্কোপাস ইন্ডেক্স সেটাকেও তুমি ইউজ করতে পারো, মানে তার মধ্যে তুমি পাবলিশ করতে পারো। তো সেখানেই আমার মনে হয় হয়তো অন দ্য সেফ সাইড স্কোপাসে করাটা ভালো। ওর স্কোপাসের পুরো লিস্ট আছে, তুমি ওটা দেখে নিতে পারো স্কোপাসের লিস্টটা। স্কোপাস ইন্ডেক্স জার্নালে কারা কারা আছে সেগুলো পড়তেই পারো। আর সরকারের পলিসি সবসময় চেঞ্জ হতে থাকে, আজকে এইটা কালকে সেইটা, কালকে হয়তো আরেকটা কিছু এসে যাবে। কারণ কি কেয়ারের আগেও একটা ছিল বড় দেখে লিস্ট, তারপর দেখা গেল ওখান থেকে অনেক জার্নালস বেরিয়ে গেছে। অ্যাট দিস মোমেন্ট ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলের কিন্তু কোনো জার্নালই কিন্তু স্কোপাস লিস্টে নেই, সরি স্কোপাস ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্টে এডুকেশনের ক্ষেত্রে বলছি। তো সেইটা একটা, তো সেটা স্কোপাস থেকে তুমি দেখে না। আদারওয়াইজ তুমি যদি বাকিটা দেখো তো ভালো ভালো জার্নালস আছে যারা মানে বাই ডিফল্টে স্কোপাসে আছেন। আবার স্কোপাসেরও ব্যাপার আছে, মজার ব্যাপার, স্কোপাসে কিন্তু মেম্বারশিপ কোনো কোনো জার্নাল হয়তো কেনে কিন্তু তারপর হয়তো রিনিউ করায় না, সেটাও একটা মজার ব্যাপার আছে। হ্যাঁ,
হ্যাঁ
তো এটা খুবই একটা অদ্ভুত একটা খেলা। তবে দেখে নাও কিছু কিছু পাবলিশিং হাউসেস আছে যেগুলো যথেষ্ট রেপিউটেড আর তাদের নামই সাফিসিয়েন্ট, যেরকম সেজ হলো, এক্সেভিয়ার্স হলো, স্প্রিঞ্জার হলো, এদের। তো এদের নিজস্ব বা টেইলর অ্যান্ড ফ্রান্সিস হলো, তাদের যথেষ্টই মানে রেপুটেড, এমারাল্ড হলো, তো এরা প্রচন্ড রেপুটেড। তো সেখানে তাদের কিন্তু সেখানে তুমি মানে পাবলিশ করাতে পারো। হ্যাঁ,
ম্যাম
শ্রীপর বলবো এখন বলো।
ম্যাম যেটা বলছিলাম ম্যাম, স্প্রিঞ্জার বা টেইলর এন্ড ফ্রান্সিসের ক্ষেত্রে আমি আমার খুব নভিশ, আমি মানে খুব সামান্য আমার জ্ঞান, মানে আমি যেটুকু দেখেছি সে তার ভিত্তিতে বলছি ম্যাম। ওদের প্রচুর ব্রাঞ্চিং মানে জার্নালস রয়েছে, মানে আমি কথাই বলছি যে টিচার এডুকেশন ধরি বা যে কোনো আমি একটা চাইল্ড সাইকোলজি বা যে কোনো জায়গায় যদি আমি হাত দিই, তো ওদের অনেকগুলো জার্নালস থাকে। তো মানে কোথায় কোথায় গেলে ঠিকঠাক হবে, এবং তার থেকে বড় কথা ম্যাম ওদের কিছু ক্ষেত্রে দেখি যে একটা ফি পেমেন্টের ব্যাপার থাকে, মানে রেমিনারেশনেরও একটা ব্যাপার থাকে। তো সেটা অনেক সময় ডলারে পেমেন্টের একটা ব্যাপার থাকে ম্যাম, সেগুলো আমাদের ক্ষেত্রে আমরা একটু ভয় পাই সব সত্যি কথা বলতে, যে কিভাবে পেমেন্ট হবে, কিভাবে কি করতে হবে, কিভাবে কমিউনিকেট করতে হবে। অনেক ক্ষেত্রে ইচ্ছে থাকলেও মানে পেরে উঠতে পারছি না আর কি, মানে সেইগুলো হয়তো মেন্টাল একটা আমি বলবো যে হয়তো বেরিয়ার, আমি জানি না। তো সেইগুলো ম্যাম কিভাবে ওভারকাম করতে পারি?
ব্যাপার আছে। প্রথম কথা এই যে এইগুলো জার্নালস গুলো বললাম, তার দু রকম আছে, একটা পেড আছে আর একটা আনপেড আছে, ঠিক আছে, মানে নন পেমেন্টের।
আচ্ছা
ঠিক
আচ্ছা
আছে, তো যেগুলো পেড আছে সেগুলো তো কথা আলাদা, তুমি নিজেই বলছো যে যথেষ্টই দাম বেশি। তো সেখানেও
হ্যাঁ
দেখবে যে কেউ কোনো কোনো জার্নাল এরকম আছে যে তুমি যদি ওপেন পাবলিকেশন না
ওপেন
নাও,
অ্যাক্সেস।
ওপেন
হ্যাঁ
অ্যাক্সেস যদি না নাও, তাহলে
হ্যাঁ
কিন্তু তোমার সমস্যা হবে না, মানে তুমি ইজিলি ওদের কাছ থেকে মানে পাঠাতে পারো, অ্যাকসেপ্টেড হয়ে গেলে। যদিও সব থেকে বড় কথা হলো যেগুলো পেমেন্ট নেয় না সেগুলোর কিন্তু কোয়ালিটি প্রচন্ড হাই রাখে। হ্যাঁ, মানে নাথিং
হুম
কামস ফ্রি, ইদার ইউ পে উইথ
একদম
ইউর কোয়ালিটি অর ইউ পে উইথ
একদম
হ্যাঁ। তো
একদম একদম
সেখানে তুমি তুমি সেখানে পাবলিশ করতে পারো। আরেকটা বলবো যে কোথায় তুমি পড়বে, কেন কি এক একটা পাবলিকেশন হাউসের অনেক কটা জার্নালস আছে, সেখানে
হ্যাঁ
তোমার রিসার্চটা কোন এরিয়ার। এবার জার্নাল বাই জার্নাল দেখো, তাদের এইমস আর অবজেক্টিভস পড়ো, দেখো
আচ্ছা
তোমার রিসার্চ এরিয়া, তুমি যে বিষয় নিয়ে লিখছো আর সেই পার্টিকুলার জার্নালের এইমস এন্ড অবজেক্টিভস ম্যাচ করছে কিনা,
আচ্ছা
তাহলে কি তবেই
থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম।
রিভিউর জন্য কনসিডার করবে।
থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ ম্যাম। ম্যাম আরেকটা প্রশ্ন করতে চাইবো ম্যাম, আমাদের আমাদের দেশের কিছু জার্নাল, মানে সেগুলো আমাদের ওয়েস্ট বেঙ্গলের নয় কিন্তু ইন্ডিয়ান আর কি, তো তারা দাবি করছে দে আর ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্টেড, বাট দে আর লাইক মানে তারা পেমেন্ট চাইছে, মানে সেটা খুব স্মল অ্যামাউন্ট হোক বা হাই অ্যামাউন্ট হোক। ম্যাম তো সেক্ষেত্রে কি আমাদের সেগুলোতে পাবলিশ করা উচিত? মানে
দেখো,
আমরা কি অ্যাজ এ নভিশ মানে রিসার্চার হিসেবে আর কি?
তুমি কোনো নভিস রিসার্চার না, তুমি রিসার্চার মিনস আ রিসার্চার, তাই জন্য তোমার প্রশ্ন শুনে বোঝা যাচ্ছে তুমি যথেষ্ট এই বিষয়ে সচেতন, তুমি দেখেছো। তো
না না ম্যাম সেরকম হ্যাঁ।
তো তুমি
তো
সেই
ম্যাম
হ্যাঁ সেই ক্ষেত্রে এটা ডিপেন্ড করে তুমি কি করতে চাও, মানে তুমি পেমেন্ট করতে চাও কিনা, ইটস অল ইওর
ম্যাম
মানে
ইজ ইট সেফ, মানে আমরা কি সেসব গুলোকে রিলাই করতে পারি?
এটা আমি
বিকজ
বলতে পারছি না, কেন কি
হ্যাঁ
ইউজিসি কেয়ার লিস্টে যখন আছে তখন
হ্যাঁ
তোমাকে ওখানে গিয়ে দেখে নিতে হবে সত্যি আছে কিনা, সেটা তোমাকে চেক করে নিতে হবে।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা
আচ্ছা,
ঠিক আছে,
শ্রীবর্ণ
থ্যাংক ইউ
মন্ডল, হ্যাঁ থ্যাংক ইউ মৌসুমী, থ্যাংক ইউ সো মাচ।
থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম, থ্যাংক ইউ ম্যাম।
শ্রীবর্ণ মন্ডল, আপনি কিছু বলছিলেন?
হ্যাঁ, গুড মর্নিং ম্যাম। আমিও শ্রীরামকৃষ্ণ বিটি কলেজ দার্জিলিং থেকেই বলছি, মানে আমি ওখানে পড়াই। এর আগে যিনি বললেন উনি মৌসুমী ম্যাম, আমরা সেম কলেজেই রয়েছি। ম্যাডাম খুব ভালো লাগলো আপনার লেকচারটা, খুবই ভালো হয়েছে, প্রচণ্ড সমৃদ্ধ হয়েছি। তো আমি নিজে কোর্স সাবজেক্ট হচ্ছে আমার ভিজুয়াল আর্ট, মানে আমি আর্ট ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড, ফাইন আর্ট ব্যাকগ্রাউন্ড। হ্যালো।
আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ বল,
হ্যাঁ,
বলুন।
তো আমার ম্যাডাম দুটো স্পেসিফিক প্রশ্ন রয়েছে। সেই দুটো প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে, যে প্রথমটা হচ্ছে যে আমি যেহেতু ভিজুয়াল আর্টের স্টুডেন্ট এবং সেই জন্য আমার রিসার্চ এরিয়াটা যদি আমি ক্যাটাগরিক্যালি ভাবি তাহলে আমার হচ্ছে হিস্টোরিক্যাল রিসার্চের আন্ডারেই পড়ছে যতদূর বুঝেছি। তো সেক্ষেত্রে আমি অনেকগুলো জায়গায় দেখেছি যে চ্যাপ্টার টাইটেল বেসিক্যালি প্রথম তো ইন্ট্রোডাকশন সবার ক্ষেত্রেই একই দেখছি এবং তারপরে একটি চ্যাপ্টার যেটা লিটারেচার রিভিউজ, চ্যাপ্টার 2 লিটারেচার রিভিউ এবং কোনো একটি চ্যাপ্টার আইদার 3 or 4 যেটা টাইটেল হচ্ছে মেথোডোলজি। তো এডুকেশনাল রিসার্চের ক্ষেত্রে আমি বেশিরভাগ কেন যতগুলো দেখেছি সবগুলোতেই তাই হয়েছে। যখন আমি ডেসক্রিপটিভ রিসার্চ বা পার্টিকুলারলি হিস্টোরিক্যাল রিসার্চে যাচ্ছি তখন কি এই স্ট্রাকচারটা টাইটেল স্ট্রাকচারটা পার্টিকুলার চ্যাপ্টারের ক্ষেত্রে একই থাকছে বা সেক্ষেত্রে যদি চেঞ্জ হয় এটা একটু আমাকে যদি আলোকপাত করেন এটার উপরে। এটা 1 নম্বর। 2 নম্বর হচ্ছে রিভিউ লিটারেচার। আমি অনেকগুলো জায়গায় দেখেছি রিভিউ লিটারেচার ধরুন যেটাতে আমি মনে করুন যে 40টি আমি থিসিস পেপার বুকস সব মিলিয়ে আমি রিভিউ করেছি এবং সেটার আমি দিচ্ছি। আমার লেখার স্টাইলটা সেখানে কি হবে? প্রত্যেকটি বুক বা থিসিসের ইন্ডিভিজুয়াল করে আমি কি দেব, না একটা কম্পারেটিভ স্টাইলে আমি লিখব? এইটা যদি আমাকে একটু আলোকপাত করেন।
প্রথম প্রশ্নটা কি ছিল? আমি ঠিক মানে আই লস্ট মাই
আচ্ছা, প্রথম প্রশ্নটা ছিল যে আমি চ্যাপ্টার টাইটেল যখন আমি রিসার্চ রিপোর্ট করছি তখন চ্যাপ্টার টাইটেল আমি বিভিন্ন জায়গায় দেখেছি যে
এখানে আমরা যেটা ডিসকাশন করছি যে রিসার্চ আর্টিকেল আমরা কি করে লিখবো। আমরা জেনারেলি রিসার্চ পেপার শব্দটা ইউজ করি, কিন্তু বিদেশে ওটাকে রিসার্চ আর্টিকেল বলে, ওরা কিন্তু পেপার শব্দটা বলে।
আচ্ছা,
তো চ্যাপ্টার টাইটেল আপনি যেটা বলছেন আমি ধরে নিচ্ছি এই ক্ষেত্রে, কেন কি রিসার্চ রিপোর্ট মানে একটা বড় মানে হোল রিসার্চটা আপনি হয়তো রিপোর্ট ফর্মে দিচ্ছেন, একটা বই আকারে দিচ্ছেন, সেখানে চ্যাপ্টারাইজেশন হচ্ছে। কিন্তু এখানে যখন রিসার্চ আর্টিকেল আপনি লিখছেন তখন কিন্তু সেখানে সেকশনস এন্ড সাবসেকশনস হচ্ছে। তো সেই সেকশনস এন্ড সাবসেকশনসটা আপনার যেরকম যা মানে নিড অফ দ্য স্টাডি সেরকম দেবেন। জেনারেলি ইন্ট্রোডাকশন দেওয়া হয়, তারপর রিভিউ অফ রিলেটেড লিটারেচার দেওয়া হয়, তারপর রিসার্চ প্রবলেম দেওয়া হয়, তারপর মেথোডোলজি দেওয়া হয়, তারপর রিজাল্ট সেকশনটা আসে, তারপর ডিসকাশন অ্যান্ড কনক্লুশন শব্দটা আছে, আর লাস্টে আপনি ফিউচার রেকমেন্ডেশন রাখলেও রাখতে পারেন। তো এগুলো ব্রড, দেখুন আমি এটা একটা একদম মানে ব্রড একটা মেন যেগুলো হয় সেইগুলো আপনাকে বললাম, কিন্তু আবার বলছি প্রত্যেকটা সাবজেক্টের কিন্তু নিজস্ব কিছু ফরম্যাট থাকে। আমি বেসিক ফরম্যাটটা আপনাকে বললাম, তারপর কিন্তু আপনি কোন বিষয়ে লিখছেন, আপনি যদি ভিজুয়াল আর্টসে লিখছেন আপনাদের ক্ষেত্রে কি কি সেকশনস হয় এইটা আপনাকে কিন্তু দেখে নিতে হবে। আপনাদের মধ্যেও হয়তো রিসার্চ মেথোডোলজির কোনো বই হবে বা কিছু লিটারেচার হবে, সেটাকে পড়ে দেখে নিতে হবে। আর এটা ট্রেন্ড অ্যানালিসিস করার জন্য খুব ভালো হয়, আপনাদের যে জার্নালস গুলো হয় সেগুলোতে দেখে নিন কি ধরনের ফরম্যাটটা ফলো করা হচ্ছে। মানে কি প্রত্যেকটা জার্নালের নিজস্ব কিছু বেসিক ফরম্যাট হয়, সেটা আপনাকে কিন্তু আগেই দেখে নিতে হবে। সব থেকে ভালো হয় যেই মানে আপনি একটা রাফ একটা ড্রাফট লিখে নিলেন আপনার রিসার্চ পেপারে, তারপর আপনি খুঁজে নিলেন কোন জার্নালটা আপনার টপিকের জন্য সুটেবল হবে, তারপর সেই জার্নালের আপনি কিছু আর্টিকেলস দেখে নিলেন। কিছু আর্টিকেল দেখলেন আপনি বুঝে যাবেন যে কি ধরনের ফরম্যাট এই রিসার্চ পেপারে ফলো করা হচ্ছে।
ঠিক আছে, হ্যাঁ ম্যাম, ধন্যবাদ। রিভিউ লিটারেচারের সম্পর্কে যদি সেকেন্ড প্রশ্নটার সম্পর্কে যদি
কতগুলো দেখুন, এটা না কোনো এন্ড নেই, ঠিক আছে? আমি বলবো লাস্ট 10 বছরকার কিন্তু লিখবেন।
হ্যাঁ, না ম্যাম, আমার প্রশ্নটা স্পেসিফিক্যালি ছিল যে রিভিউ লিটারেচার যখন আমি ধরুন যদি চ্যাপ্টারটা আলাদা করেই রিভিউ লিটারেচারে আমি দিচ্ছি তো সেখানে আমার ওয়ে অফ স্টাইল কেমন?
কিন্তু আমরা এখানে কথা বলছি না, আমরা কিন্তু এখানে সেকশনস আর সাবসেকশনে, মানে কি এটা কিন্তু রিপোর্ট না, এটা আমরা কি করছি, আমরা এখানে আর্টিকেল লিখছি।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, সেক্ষেত্রে ম্যাম যদি না ঠিক আছে, কিন্তু যদি আমি রিসার্চ রিপোর্টের জন্য যদি আমি করি, সেক্ষেত্রে যদি আপনি যদি কিছুটা আলোকপাত করেন খুব ভালো হয়।
কটা দেবো দেখুন, এটা ডিপেন্ড করে যে আপনাদের কিরকম কি টপিক বা কি ওই, কেন কি দেখুন কিছু কিছু এমন রিসার্চ হয় যার মধ্যে হয়তো কাজই খুব কম হয়েছে।
আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ,
তো সেই ক্ষেত্রে তো যতগুলো হয়েছে আপনাকে সবই রিপোর্ট করতে হবে। আর কিছু কিছু ক্ষেত্রে এমন থাকে যার মধ্যে প্রচুর কাজ হয়েছে, মানে হয়েই গেছে,
হ্যাঁ,
সেই ক্ষেত্রেও কিন্তু আপনাকে দেখে নিতে হবে আপনার এরিয়ার সাথে কতটা ম্যাচ হচ্ছে, কোন জায়গাটা একদম ফোকাসড আপনাকে রিভিউজ নিতে হবে। আর যেখানে প্রচুর কাজ হয়েছে সেখানে খুব ভালো হয় লাস্ট 10 বছরের রিসার্চটা আপনি করবেন, লেটেস্ট রিসার্চেস গুলো।
ওকে ম্যাম, হ্যাঁ, ধন্যবাদ ম্যাম, থ্যাংক ইউ।
Thank you, sir. Thank you, madam. Now I would like to request previous day reports, please. মন্দিরা দিয়া, আপনি এটা একটু প্রিভিয়াস ডে রিপোর্টের ব্যাপারটা দেখুন, কে ছিলেন?
শেখ সানাউর ছিলেন, উনি মনে হচ্ছে নেই। আর একজন অমিত বাবু ছিলেন, অমিত বাবু মনে হচ্ছে আছেন না? হ্যালো,
না মন্দিরা ম্যাডাম, সৌমিত্র।
ও হ্যাঁ, সৌমিত্র মন্ডল বোধহয় উনি ছিলেন, আমি এক্ষুনি দেখেছি।
মাঝখানে একটুখানি ইন্টারভিউ করছি, আমার সেশন কি কমপ্লিট হয়ে গেছে? তাহলে আমি লিড করি
না ম্যাডাম, আর একটু দাঁড়ান, ফর্মাল ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কসটা হবে।
ঠিক আছে।
সুভাষিস দা, ফর্মাল ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কস কে দেবেন একটু কাইন্ডলি?
আছেন, মডারেটর আছেন।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, একটু বলুন।
প্রফেসর রাজকুমার সামন্ত তো আছেন তো?
রাজকুমার স্যার, প্লিজ প্রসিড। সুভাষিস দা, আপনি বলুন।
হ্যালো সুভাষিস স্যার, আমি কি একটু বলে দেবো?
বলুন বলুন, কল্যাণ বাবু।
ওকে ওকে ওকে, actually we have a very good discussion regarding the quantitative research articles, and I would like to thanks Professor Sudeshna Lahiri, Professor and Head of Education, University of Calcutta. This is a very good lecture, and according to my view, it's not only informative and beneficial to the education subject. Definitely, total I go through the whole lectures, and from that I can say that it has been beneficial for education subject, geography, history, psychology, economics, and other social science subjects. So very good lecture we have, and there is a very good discussion also. Some participants, more than 5-6 participants have been participated for the discussion. Once again, I would like to congratulate and thanks Dr. Sudeshna Lahiri madam. Thank you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much. Just I would like to one point mention, madam. Madam has vast knowledge regarding research, behavioral research, psychological research, and he have done with special education regarding this, and she has also specialized in various project work, and he visit lot of countries. This kind of resource person enlightened with us today. Thank you very much, madam.
Thank you.
বিশ্বজিৎ স্যারের কাছে, হ্যালো, গুড মর্নিং স্যার। বিশ্বজিৎ স্যারের কাছে আমার একটা প্রশ্ন আছে।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ বলুন।
হ্যাঁ স্যার, আমি বৈশাখী নাগ বলছিলাম ভৈরব গাঙ্গুলি কলেজ থেকে। তো স্যার আমার প্রশ্নটা হচ্ছে যে আমাদের যে ফটোগ্রাফ, তারপরে কলেজের নাম, ইমেল আইডি, এগুলো যে পাঠাতে বলা হয়েছে, আমরা
আজকেই চা হবে, আজকেই আপনাদের গ্রুপে পোস্ট করা হবে, আমরা আজকে এটা প্রসিড করব ম্যাডাম, ঠিক আছে?
ওকে স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
আর যেহেতু বিজি শিডিউল চলছে তো কালকে ছুটি আছে, সুতরাং অসুবিধা হবে না, হয়ে যাবে। আর প্রিভিয়াস দের যে মন্দিরা ম্যাডাম যিনি দেবেন তিনি তো বোধহয় এক্সিট করে গেছেন। মন্দিরা দিয়ে আরেকবার
চলে গেছেন তো
বলবেন। যাই হোক, ঠিক আছে, এটা একটা লার্নিং প্রসেস, আপনারাও শিখছেন, আমরাও শিখছি, মানে অ্যাজ এ অর্গানাইজার আপনাদের দিক দিয়ে অ্যাজ এ পার্টিসিপেন্ট। সুতরাং ভুল ভ্রান্তি যাই হোক, লার্নিং প্রসেস। ডক্টর মনোজিৎ,
আমি না একটা ছোট্ট রিকোয়েস্ট করছি, যদি কারো কোনো অসুবিধা থাকে, ধরুন ভোট অফ থ্যাঙ্কস দেওয়া বা মডারেশন বা ওই আর কি কাজ আছে সেইগুলো, ইন্ট্রোডিউসিং বা রিপোর্ট রাইটিং, একটু আগের থেকে যদি মডারেটরকে জানিয়ে দেন বা মডারেটর অ্যাবসেন্ট থাকলে আমাদের যে কোনো একজনকে বা গ্রুপে যদি জানান, তাহলে সময় থাকতে আমরা অন্য কাউকে কাজটা অ্যালট করতে পারি বা আমরা নিজেরা আরেকটু রেডি থাকতে পারি। হ্যাঁ, মানে হঠাৎ করে গ্রুপ লিভ করলে না আমরা একটুখানি সত্যি এটা মানে অস্বস্তিজনক হয়ে যাচ্ছে। অসুবিধা আপনাদের থাকতেই পারে, একটু আগে যদি সকালে বা আগের দিন রাতে জানিয়ে দেন তাহলে খুব ভালো হয়। একটু এটা রিকোয়েস্ট রইলো আমাদের তরফ থেকে।
একদম মন্দিরা ম্যাডাম যা বললেন ঠিক, কারণ বুঝতেই পারলেন যে যিনি রিসোর্স পারসন তিনি প্ল্যাটফর্মে আছেন, অথচ এইরকম পরিস্থিতির সম্মুখীন হলে অর্গানাইজারদেরও খুব অসুবিধার সম্মুখীন হতে হয়। আমরা মানে চেয়েছি যে পার্টি ফ্যাকাল্টি আমরা সেসব করে দিতে পারবেন, কিন্তু আমরা চাইছি আপনাদের তরফ থেকে এইগুলো হলে কি হয়, একটা গ্রুমিং এর ব্যাপার থাকে, কিছু লার্নিং করা যায়, কিন্তু এরকম পরিস্থিতি হলে খুব অসুবিধা। যাই হোক, একটা আপনাদের বিষয় জানিয়ে রাখি, আজকে আমাদের সেকেন্ড সেশনের একটা চেঞ্জ হবে। প্রফেসর মুক্তিপদ সিনহা, ওনার জায়গায় বলবেন ডক্টর কৌশিক চ্যাটার্জি। মুক্তিবাবু এখন পোল্যান্ডে আছেন, উনি দিল্লিতে, সকালে আজকে যোগাযোগ হয়, এই চেঞ্জটা হবে। যাই হোক, তাহলে এখন আমাদের টাইম 11:46, আমরা নেক্সট সেশনে যাব কি প্রিভিয়াস ডে? হ্যাঁ 12টায়। তাহলে আমরা আজকের প্রিভিয়াস ডে যে বিষয় ছিল সেটা তো আর হচ্ছে না বোধহয়, তাহলে আমরা পরের সেশনেই আমরা 12টায় শুরু করব। আপনারা একটু রেস্ট নিয়ে নিন, তারপরে আবার জয়েন করুন, তাই তো সুভাষিস বাবু?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, 12টায় আমরা জয়েন করছি। কিন্তু এই ব্যাপারগুলো না, এই যেটা হলো এরকম যেন না হয়, পরের সেশনে যেন আবার ঠিকঠাক হয়, এটা মাথায় রাখুন। এবং প্রিভিয়াস ডের যে রিপোর্টিংটা হলো না এখন, সেটা আজকের পরবর্তী সময়ে আমরা করে নেব, সেইটা টার্গেটে রাখুন। ঠিক আছে, থ্যাংক ইউ। আপাতত আবার আমরা 12টায়।
বালা স্যার,
বলুন স্যার। সুখদেব স্যার,
সুখদেব দাস from আনন্দ চন্দ্র ট্রেনিং কলেজ জলপাইগুড়ি। স্যার, এই ওয়ান কোয়ারি, আমার একটা ছোট্ট কোয়ারি, যেটা সেকেন্ড সেশনে প্রফেসর মৈত্রী দত্ত ম্যাম সেকেন্ড সেশনে রয়েছেন, উনি
সেকেন্ড না আফটার লাঞ্চ ফার্স্ট থেকে 12। ও আচ্ছা, হ্যাঁ 12টা থেকে।
হ্যাঁ
বলুন স্যার।
হ্যাঁ 12টা থেকে ওনার রয়েছেন। তো মৈত্রী দত্ত ম্যাম।
হ্যাঁ, ওটা তো হচ্ছে স্যার, ওটা হচ্ছে আমাদের শুধু চেঞ্জ হচ্ছে 3:30 সেশন মুক্তিপদ বাবুর জায়গায় ডক্টর কৌশিক চ্যাটার্জি।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা আচ্ছা,
ঠিক আছে,
মানে ওটা সেকেন্ড হাফের ফার্স্ট যেটা।
সেকেন্ড হাফের সেকেন্ড
ফার্স্ট
সেশন।
হ্যালো স্যার।
তিন নম্বর।
স্যার বলছি আজকে 24 তারিখ আপনার আইডি প্রুফ আর ফটোটা
আজকে আমরা বলে দেবো।
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা স্যার, ঠিক আছে,
আমরা আজকে বলে দেবো, কনফার্ম করে দেবো।
ঠিক আছে,
ঠিক আছে।
প্রফেসর বিশ্বজিৎ স্যারের কাছে আমার আর একটা রিকোয়েস্ট আছে যে স্যার একটু কাইন্ডলি দেখবেন যে আমরা যেন স্টাডি মেটেরিয়াল গুলো আপনারা পাঠাচ্ছেন, আমরাও রিসিভ করছি, মানে যেগুলো বাকি থাকছে সেগুলো যদি একটু পাওয়া যায় স্টাডি মেটেরিয়াল।
আমরা এখনো অবধি মনে হয় 3 খানা পেয়েছি।
আপ্রাণ চেষ্টা করছি। একটা বিষয় বলি ম্যাডাম আপনাদের, আমরা অবশ্যই রিসোর্স পার্সনদের রিকোয়েস্ট করছি যে আপনারা যেটা পড়ালেন সেটা আমাদের সঙ্গে শেয়ার করুন। যারা যারা শেয়ার করেছেন আমরা সঙ্গে সঙ্গে আপনাদের সঙ্গে শেয়ার করে দিয়েছি। এইবার কোন রিসোর্স পার্সন যদি শেয়ার না করেন সেখানে কিন্তু আর কিছু বলার থাকে না। এখানে তো আর জোরাজোরির ব্যাপার নয়, একটু চেষ্টা করতে। ঠিক আছে,
ওকে স্যার, থ্যাংক ইউ।
ঠিক আছে, তাহলে আমরা পরের একটু রেস্ট নিয়েই আবার জয়েন করছি। ঠিক আছে,
12টার সময় আমরা জয়েন করছি।
ঠিক আছে।
প্রফেসর নূর আলম মন্ডল আছেন, আমাদের মৈত্রী ম্যাম অলরেডি এসে গেছেন। ওয়েলকাম ম্যাডাম।
Yes, sir. I am present, sir.
ওকে ওকে,
Thank you so
হ্যাঁ
much.
হ্যাঁ। Start the session from 12. Okay.
Sure.
Yes, sir. My sound is clear? Excuse me, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Today is the multidiscipline workshop, your international workshop. Today I am Noor Alam Mondol from North Point Residential School, Siliguri. Then today I am moderator of this session. Then I introduce this Mr. Shukdev Das, your Ananda Chandra Training College, Jalpaiguri, West Bengal. This person is MA in Sanskrit, B.Ed, M.Ed, PhD, collaboration of the guide of NGNOU. Then I hand over this mic, Dr. Shukdev Das. Sir, please give your introduction.
Thank you, sir. Namaskar. A very good afternoon, all of you. Today, we are fortunate to have with us Professor Maitri Datta ma'am. As the esteemed resource person, Professor Maitri Datta, Department of Philosophy, Jadavpur University. Her areas of interest include philosophy of time, metaphysics, Buddhist philosophy, and continental philosophy also. She has published a number of research papers in reputed national and international journals. A few publications are Time and Temporal Relations, a Analysis in Journal of Indian Council of Philosophical Research. Second one, Approaches to the Real in Contemporary India. Third one, Classical Indian Dialectic Refuting the Reality of Temporal Facets. She is going to make some unique philosophical methods and their application. On behalf of all the participants, I, Dr. Shukdev Das, Assistant Professor, Anand Chandra Training College, Jalpaiguri, welcome you, ma'am. Now the platform is all yours, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Bala sir. Thank you giving me this opportunity. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction and kind words. First of all, I'd like to thank the organizers who have approached me to say a few words about philosophical methodology. Actually, it is very good that you have organized such a workshop on research methodology, because we know that with the introduction of the new system in our education and the new curriculum, it becomes essential for the students as well as the teachers who are going to teach these students the research methodology. because as we all know that MPhil has been scrapped, and instead of that the students from MA or BA just embark on doing research. Now we know that this research is a completely different function, which is not similar to that of the writing questions in undergraduation or post-graduation. So a student should be equipped with the methodology by following which he or she can do research. Now, for that, it is important to understand in different areas or disciplines or branches of humanities how the social scientists as well as the philosophers have done research so far, because as far as I know regarding my discipline, the philosophers from the ancient time, when they have done philosophy, as their contents are very important, just like that, their methodologies are. And here in this particular talk, I would like to focus my attention on their methodologies that they have used to establish their philosophical position, and how there is a development of methodology or change of methodologies in philosophy, especially with reference to Western context, because it is not possible in a talk to do justice in the context of Western as well as the Indian context. Maybe at last, in fine, I will mention a few methods of Indian philosophy, but mostly I will concentrate on the methodologies used by the Western philosophers. And for that, I would like to present the PPT that I have prepared for you. I'm very sorry, just a moment. Here, I think I'll go to the sharing option. It is full screen. And now, sorry. Can you see it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay. So, I am going to start the presentation with the meaning of philosophy. Why so? Because in the meaning of the term philosophy, we will find the germ of philosophical methodology.
it is very interesting that the philosophy as a discipline contains its methodology within itself. We all know perhaps that it is a very common fact, common knowledge, that in the Western culture, philosophy has been coined by the Greeks, which means love of knowledge. Sophia stands for knowledge and philos means love. So it's love of knowledge. Thus, the meaning of the term philosophy indicates its universal application, which makes its domain a vast one at the time of its genesis. That is, we all know at the time of the Greeks, the philosophy has developed in a very thorough way. We all know the name of Socrates, and in Greece, there were pre-Socratic philosophers also. Now, these pre-Socratic philosophers paved the way for the Greek philosophy proper, which started with Socrates, and then Plato, and then Aristotle. Now, if we look at this term philosophy and its meaning, that is love of knowledge, we understand that this particular branch of knowledge actually encompassed the whole of the knowledge system. Because love of knowledge, here the Greeks did not demarcate any branch of particular knowledge or identify a particular content of knowledge. They are talking about knowledge as such. The knowledge can be of the externality, or the knowledge can be of the internal, the moral, everything. Everything came under the domain of philosophy. And therefore, we find that starting from the Socratic time, Socrates himself and the later post-Aristotelian philosophers, this insight of philosophy was very much there, that it is a domain where all the different questions regarding man, his moral, his relationship with the external world, everything came under this particular encompassing a vast domain of philosophy. Now, when Greek thinker Thales asked, what is the ultimate stuff of this world, he became a philosopher by this unique inquiry. Now, please notice this term inquiry. So we find that this particular inquiry has made the domain of philosophy unique. And we all know that inquiry is a process. Inquiry is a questioning. Inquiry enable us to take a method to know something. So, for the pursuit of knowledge, we always requires a means, a method, and that is essential to arrive at some knowledge. And all of us started with an inquiry. So this inquiry, the special inquiry of Thales, what is the ultimate stuff of this world, has made him a philosopher, because these types of questions or questioning is the starting of philosophy, that is love of knowledge, the love or the inquiry for the ultimate stuff. So asking questions, a fundamental feature of philosophy. So from the time of Thales, the first philosopher in the Greek culture, the questions have been asked, Till now, the questions are asked in philosophy, and the formulations of the questions, the intensity of the questions, the profundity of the questions have made philosophy a unique branch of knowledge. Nowadays, we know that especially many subjects of humanities as well as philosophy are going through real crisis in the society because people do not understand the value of it unless and until we, the practitioners, make them understand how important it is for the whole society to help people to find out different criteria to solve different problems in their everyday life, in their moral domain, in their, any practice. Philosophy is such a discipline that it helps you to formulate a proper criteria, to articulate, to identify what is proper for you. So it is very important to understand the proper significance of philosophy, and I think that you can understand through its methodology. Now, inquiry is always a fundamental feature of philosophy. These inquiries can be of various nature. As for example, sometimes philosophers ask about the nature of real. Sometimes they ask about the nature of knowledge itself. Again, sometimes they inquire about the nature of morality and so on. Centering around these questions, different branches of philosophy emerged in the West. Now, I have, since it is not possible for me to go through all the philosophical methods starting from Thales and explain, so I have chosen some of the important philosophers' deliberations and I am going to try from their deliberations figure out the unique philosophical method that they have used. So firstly, I am taking Plato's dialogue, a classical method of philosophizing. Now, the Greek philosopher Plato, we all are acquainted with him because he's not only a philosopher, but he has written about various things in different disciplines, which are relevant to different disciplines. So the Greek philosopher Plato has asked different fundamental questions regarding knowledge, justice, motion, time, and so on in his books, Theaetetus, The Republic, Timaeus, respectively. In these different books, he used a unique method of philosophizing, namely dialogue. It's a dialogical method. He has taken Socrates, his mentor, as a person who entered into dialogues with Athenians. Athenians means the people who lived in Athens, the main city of Greece, and gradually proved through dialogues that the opinions of others involve some kind of contradictions or discrepancies. This is an example of dialogical method of philosophy. Now here, I would like to mention, to make this point more clear to you, since all of you are not from this discipline, philosophy. So I would like to explain a bit upon this dialogical method, that how this method has been applied. Now, take for example the book Republic. Here, the main question is, what is justice? Okay, we all know that justice is a moral concept and is a very important one till date. We can understand how important justice is nowadays because our judiciary actually is now balancing everything. It takes its proper role to retain the stability of the society. So much conflict, so much differences are found in society now that it is important to stabilize it through some kind of mechanism. And I think that our judiciary is playing a very important role here. Not only talking about legal justice, but mainly it focuses on moral justice. Okay, and we cannot just differentiate legality from morality always, because these two concepts are closely connected. We know that morality impinges into legality and the vice versa. So, when Socrates, as I have told you, that Plato always, in his dialogue, he never has come in front, and he has taken Socrates as a mouthpiece, and therefore Socrates is a very common person of Athens, a knowledgeable person, and sometimes he came and sat in the middle of a marketplace where many Athenian young people used to come, and discussions took place there at the very marketplace, where there were commotions and everything, yet the interaction took place there. And this dialogue, the dialogical method is like that Socrates asked them very innocuously, very in a very plain language, that he would like to know about a particular concept. Now, here in the Republic, he would like to know what is justice, which is connected to moral justice. He has said that actually he was eager to know what is justice. So we find that different persons coming from different background, as here we find the merchant Syphilis, who was very who seemed to be knowledgeable and an elderly person. At his home, the dialogue took place at the first time. And when he has been asked this question, what is justice? I think that giving someone's due is justice. And what does it mean? That is, if you take something from a person, then it is just to return it in time. So giving someone his due is justice. Now, when Syphilis has said this is a very commonsensical notion of justice, but Socrates has started analyzing this statement of Syphilis and has shown that this commonsensical notion of justice couldn't hold. The example a bit, then you'll understand it how. He has said that, take for example, that some of you, one of your friends has given some weapons to you and to keep it with you for the time being. Then, when the time has come, he has come to you and asked for the weapons. But you found that the person has become insane. So the question of Socrates was, would it be right to return those weapons to the insane person? Because it would be possible that the person could do some harm to himself because he was not sane at that time. So here, giving someone one's due cannot be regarded as justice. Because if you think that giving someone his due is justice, then you just return the weapons to the person, and then the person could harm himself. Then can you say that that is justice? No. So there can be such exceptions by which it is proved that the way Syphilis has presented the notion of justice or has tried to define justice was not right. So this is the method actually Plato has taken up in his different books, in different contexts for different notions, that through this dialogue, actually the notion gets clarified and the ultimate meaning of the notion will come into the present. To medieval philosophy and an interpretive method. Now, I should make it clear that in medieval philosophy, they were archbishops or cardinals or bishops like that, because at that time, after the Hellenic period, when the medieval period has been introduced in the culture of Western thought, then the Aristotelian philosophy has been sanctioned as the only proper philosophy, and that was restored and preserved in the churches. So only in the church there were libraries where the books of Aristotle were there, and the church people could read those books of Aristotle with Bible, and they could only do philosophy in resonance with Aristotelian thought. They could not be permitted to say anything against Bible or Aristotelian philosophy, because so it was totally a theological, religious culture which prevailed during the medieval time. And here, apart from this Aristotelian philosophy, as I have just mentioned, that there was Bible, which is the holy book. And regarding the interpretation of this Bible, we found that there were controversies among the church people. And as I have just mentioned that the controversies took place among the church people, we find gradually that how Protestantism as a particular form of this Christianity evolved during this time. First, there was only Catholic Christianity, in which there was a particular method to understand Bible. At that time, Bible was written only in Latin, and a few of the church people only knew Latin. So the mass, the common people, could not read Bible. And therefore, they depended solely on these church people to understand the meaning of Bible. They had to go to the church people, and whatever interpretation they provided, that was sufficient. And obviously, as corruption introduced into this whole church system, gradually the church people who were corrupted have interpreted Bible according to their own benefit. So there was total anarchy society. So Martin Luther, a German church person, all of you know, have come forward and have said that the method of interpreting Bible should be changed. The Bible should be translated into vernacular so as to all the people can read Bible on their own, and there was no need to take the help of church people to understand the meaning of Bible. So there must be some rules, some systems they have tried to provide to read Bible on your own, but that was a different thing. But regarding this interpretation of Bible, whether it could be read on your own following certain rules, or whether you should take help of the church people and read and understand, try to understand the Latin Bible, this is the issue of controversy. So this particular issue of interpretation has been taken up, the philosophers also, and they have tried to give certain norms or rules of interpreting Bible. So we can consider these also as a very important method in the development of Western philosophy. Then came a very important, we will say a very important event. It is not event actually, it is a process, it is a change of perspective in the Western thought with Renaissance. We all know about Renaissance, which is revival, which means revival. Revival of what? Revival of the Greek culture. We have just come to know that during the medieval period, only Aristotelian philosophy could be discussed and could be interpreted. Now, apart from Aristotelianism, there were many other Greek philosophers who had important contribution in the body of philosophy, like Plato, like Socrates, like other pre-Socratic philosophers like Anaximander, Anaximenes, Heraclitus, Pythagoras, Democritus, etc. So their view, their understanding of knowledge in different fields were very important. Now, during this time of Renaissance, when this revival took place, we find that there is a change of method altogether in philosophy. Since there is a time constraint, I am straight going to the most important modern philosopher of that time, who is René Descartes. We all know about René Descartes, perhaps, and he was actually a mathematician. In mathematics, his contribution was great, but at that time, another thing was happening, that is a new science apart from philosophy started developing. We all know, with the contribution of Galileo and then Copernicus and then Kepler, etc., till Newton. Now, as Galileo, we all know, have taken method of observation and experiment as the method of science, he has found several conclusions in physics which has come into direct conflict with Aristotelianism. So the church never sanctioned the claims of Galileo, and at that time, René Descartes, who was a mathematician who could understand the value of this new science, have tried to find out a very foundational knowledge system which can give the base or foundation to this new science, because this new science at that time was very weak, not the time like us where science is most powerful. The scientists were very powerful, but not at that time. There were a few scientists and they were struggling with church authority. So in between this struggle, this conflict, the new scientists were penalized and their views have been shattered. So Descartes, as a philosopher, has tried to develop a method of philosophy which he thought would help the scientists to establish their claims, which were very important according to Descartes. So, the anti-scholastic attitude of Descartes enabled him to uphold a new method in philosophy, namely method of doubt. Method of doubt which culminated into some fundamental philosophical doctrines which are marked by clarity and distinctness and indubitability. Now I have to explain these a bit. That is, when Descartes has started finding out a basic foundation for the new science, he has understood that it would not be very easy. So he has employed the method of doubt, which is renowned as Cartesian method. By the application of this particular method, what he has done, he has started doubting every belief. Every belief. First, the commonsensical beliefs, and then even the mathematical ones. Because in the case of mathematical ones, which seemed certain to everybody, he has said that there was a possibility that a malicious demon can structure our mind in such a way that we think that 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Actually, it might not be so. So this can be a possibility. This can be a logical possibility. So through this possibility, he said that we could even doubt the mathematical truths. But through this methodological doubt, he has come to a position where he has said that this particular belief cannot be doubted. This is indubitable. And what is that belief? That proposition? That is, I think, therefore I am, his famous dictum, cogito ergo sum. Ergo means therefore, cogito means doubting, thinking. Doubting is a form of thinking, so cogito signifies doubting. So cogito ergo sum. Sum means exists. So whoever is doubting has to exist. This is a logically valid. This is a logically impenetrable dictum. One cannot doubt this particular belief or proposition because otherwise there will be contradiction. One cannot say that the doubter himself does not exist. The doubter has to exist for doing the doubt. So this is the indubitable proposition at which he finally arrived at. And since this belief or proposition is marked with clarity and distinctness, for Descartes, truth is clear and distinct. Whatever we take as certain truth should be clear and distinct to us, just like this cogito ergo sum. So, he has tried to find out several other such principles upon which he thinks that the other bodies of knowledge can be based, like new science. So we can understand that how this method of doubt is a very important philosophical method in modern philosophy. Now, we are not going to other rationalist philosophers or empiricist philosophers like Locke, Berkeley, Hume, or other rationalist philosophers like Spinoza, Leibniz, because there is not so much time. We straight come to Kant, Immanuel Kant. I have only taken those philosophers with whom I think all of you are familiar with. So Kant and his transcendental philosophy. So Kant is always an enigma to us. We think that Kant is very tough. Whatever Kant has written actually is very abstruse and tough. But whatever Kant has written has a very, very important impact on post-Kantian philosophy, be it analytic philosophy, be it continental philosophy. Now here, Immanuel Kant, we all know, was actually an Austrian philosopher, and he has composed three critics: critic of pure reason, critic of practical reason, and critic of judgment. Now, his first critic, that is critic of pure reason, there he actually has discussed the, we can say, the limit of reason, how far reason go. Because at that time, since Kant was the philosopher of enlightenment who has taken modern philosophical method to its epitome, at the Enlightenment period, the modernity has been flourished like anything. And this Kant's book of Critique of Pure Reason actually has been taken as a very good advocate of the march of modernity in the Western world. So here, what Kant has done has critiqued the limit of reason and tried to find out what is the limit of pure reason. But in doing so, he has actually done a revolution, which has been compared with Copernican revolution. Why? Before Kant, till the empiricists, during the time of Locke, Berkeley, Hume, mind takes a role in the formation of knowledge, but its role is very passive, because mind is only taking data from the external world, and those ideas which are mental data, from those data only the knowledge has been generated. But Kant has found that mind not only has this passive role for the genesis of knowledge, but it has the active role for the genesis of knowledge. How? He has changed the treatment of the role of mind and empowered it with an active role, namely constitutive. How constitutive? He has said that the object of knowledge is finally constituted by different faculties of mind after the reception of external data. Now, he has mentioned about two faculties of mind by which mind performs its function. First of all, through the faculty of sensibility, which has two forms according to Kant, space and time, mind takes the external data. Now, as soon as sensibility grasps the external data, the data are formed in space and time. And these spatiotemporal data then are categorized by the other faculty, that is understanding. Understanding has 12 categories according to Kant, like substance, causality, modality, etc. And the spatiotemporal data has been modified by these categories of understanding, and ultimately the judgment or knowledge is produced. So we can understand that how mind here is contributing a very active role for the genesis of knowledge, which according to Kant is a judgment, which can be expressible into a judgment. And we all know that how he has classified judgment into 4 varieties, that is analytic a priori, analytic a posteriori, which is not possible according to him, then synthetic a posteriori and synthetic a priori. Which judgment has both universality due to a priority and syntheticity like novelty. So for Kant, if the scientific knowledge has to have the foundation, or the scientific knowledge is to be legitimized, then a proper criteria or a proper judgment or form of novelty as well as universality is required, because scientific truths are both novel as well as universal. So, according to him, the propositions of mathematics, the propositions of physics are synthetic a priori, but his question in this book is more important, that is, can synthetic a priori proposition possible in metaphysics also? That is the moot question, but here our main concern is with his methodology, and we find that here he's using the transcendental method in which he articulated the structure of mind. Sorry, it will be structure of mind responsible for the genesis of knowledge. We find how the mind has taken an active role, and here mind could only take the active role, but because it is constituted in a particular way. And this constitution of mind has been discussed thoroughly in Kantian philosophy, which makes his method as a transcendental method. Because for him, when we are discussing about the constitution of mind or the conditions of knowledge, then our discussion or method is named as transcendental. It deals with internal structure, internal condition, etc. Now we are coming straight to analytic philosophical method. Now we know after Kant, Hegel has come, and after Kant only, there was we can say bifurcation in the Western philosophical atmosphere, that is the Anglo-American philosophy, which is known as analytic philosophy, and the continental philosophy of Germany and France and other continents. So in 20th century is marked by language analysis, which constituted the philosophical methodology of that time. Bertrand Russell, G. Moore, and Ludwig Wittgenstein are pioneers of this trend. We know that this linguistic analysis trend in Anglo-American philosophy has been pioneered by these three important figures, that is Russell, Moore, and Wittgenstein. Now, what was their claim? Their claim is to analyze language in order to make it transparent, shotsho, which enabled them to understand the philosophical problems better. Russell and others have found that till now, philosophers were intensely engaged in solving several problems and employing methods, but those problems were becoming abstruse and abstract and remained mostly unsolvable. So what to do? They have thought that let's do language analysis. Moore has done ordinary language analysis, and Russell has actually made an artificial language, which is a type of logic. And by that, he has tried to express the philosophical problems, and he has found that when the age-old philosophical problems have been expressed through this artificial language known as logic, and the ordinary transparent language given by Moore after analysis, some of the problems vanished and some of the problems can be or could be well articulated. So this is the benefit of doing language analysis, which has been understood and understood by Russell and Moore, and later on Wittgenstein. Okay. Now we are coming to a particular branch of philosophy, or we can say philosophers, which also had a great contribution in philosophical methodology. Now, during pre-Second World War situation, in Vienna, a group of philosophers have made Vienna Circle. It was regarded as Vienna Circle, Vienna in Austria. But this group consisted not only of philosophers, but also of several scientists. They have found that till then in Anglo-American philosophy, the moot question is to legitimize science. How to make science more established, more strong. And they take philosophy only to help in this endeavor. And so they have articulated and provided a criterion of meaningfulness. According to them, a statement is meaningful or regarded as meaningful if it is empirically verifiable, not verified, verifiable. It is possible to empirically verifiable. We all know that the statement, very simple statement, the grass is green. This statement, we can empirically verify. Now, there are complex sentences also in science, which can also be empirically verifiable. If we cannot verify empirically those at present, there is possibility that with the invention of new equipments, we can verify them. So all those are empirically verifiable. But what about the metaphysical statement and ethical statement? According to them, since this criterion of meaningfulness did not apply to the metaphysical statement like God exists, or we can say that immortality is there, or the nature of reality is one. All these statements, they can say that we cannot verify empirically, or it cannot be verifiable at all empirically. Or ethical statements like this action is moral or that action is immoral, like that. So according to them, these statements are nonsense, or they did not have any meaning. Now, there were reactions, severe reactions against this particular claim of this group of philosophers who are regarded as logical positivists. And later on, with the critique of their successors like Popper and Kuhn in philosophy of science, they have tried to modify this and have tried to formulate better criterion of science. So this is it. And then we are coming to phenomenology as a method of continental philosophy. I have mentioned already that after Kant, there was a bifurcation of philosophical stance or doing philosophy in the West. One is analytic philosophy, which is mostly Anglo-American, and other is continental philosophy, where the methodology was completely different. It would be possible that in both these traditions, the same philosophical problems have been treated, but they mainly varied due to their methodology. So you can understand how important methods or methodologies are in philosophy. Now, as opposed to analytic tradition in Anglo-American culture, in the continent, namely Germany and other countries, a new philosophy with a unique method has developed by a German philosopher, Edmund Husserl. Husserl has developed a philosophical method which starts with phenomena, that is, whatever we experience, which we grasp through our experience, and bracketed out all other transcendent philosophical issues like ultimate real, etc. Husserl was not bothered about the metaphysical questions or very fundamental metaphysical issues. His concern is to understand experience and the objects of experience as related to experience. That was his main concern. And for that, he has developed a particular methodology called phenomenological methodology. Phenomena, you know, whatever appears in our experience. And since he is trying to develop a branch of knowledge describing this experience and its object, so his philosophy is phenomenological. He used to say that he didn't want to presuppose any philosophical ideas. He will just start from the everyday experience and then would like to understand the nature of experience with its objects. And we find the Kantian legacy very much present, the Kantian legacy of transcendental philosophy very much present in Husserl, because here also, in understanding or describing experience, he has to articulate the mental phenomena. How the mental phenomena has been constituted, what are the conditions of experience, all these things he had to understand through his phenomenological method. Now, this method is a very elaborative one. I don't have time today to elaborate it. Today, I am just trying to present some of the important philosophical method which we find through the journey of philosophy in the West. As philosophy developed from the time of the Greeks to this particular phenomenological method, we have found how a vast path philosophers have traveled and how their methodology changed time to time to understand their contents better. Now we are coming to Heidegger and his hermeneutic phenomenology. Now, Heidegger was a student of Husserl, and both of them have taught in Freiburg University in Germany, and they had great contribution in continental philosophy. Though Heidegger was a student of Husserl, he has departed from his mentor and has developed a new type of philosophy and philosophical method. For Heidegger, hermeneutics itself is philosophy. And hermeneutic, we know, is actually a theory of interpretation. So interpretation has come the main enterprise of philosophy in Heidegger. For him, the whole of Western philosophy, starting from Plato, has made a wrong understanding of being. We know that Plato has discussed about being, then Aristotle has discussed about being, then all the other philosophers of modern philosophy, even Kant has discussed about being. And being has been treated, being and real, both have been treated with extension in the whole history of philosophy, whole history of Western philosophy. But Heidegger held that this treatment of being was inadequate and in a way wrong. His purpose, because the being has not ever been understood in its full blood, in the full-blooded sense. Why? Because he thought that the philosophers starting from Plato and others only tried to understand being in abstraction. They tried to understand being as dissociated from the situated being, the human being. Their existence or existences have been completely ignored, and their essential characteristics like consciousness and others have been treated extensively. But for Heidegger, this situatedness of being, the relationship of being with this world, is very important. If we try to understand being, then we have to understand being as associated with the world in which it is situated. Therefore, that is design. And he has tried to uncover the meaning of this being, that is design. And in doing so, he has adopted a particular method which is known as hermeneutic phenomenology. His purpose is to understand the meaning of being, and for that he used philosophical hermeneutics as the method by virtue of which being in the world, that is design, reveals itself. Now here is the twist. That is, for Heidegger, the method to understand being is not at all cognitive. Before him, even Husserl also, when was doing phenomenology, given importance on consciousness, which is cognitive in nature. But Heidegger is saying that only this cognitive nature is not the essential feature of human being. Human being has a situatedness in the world, and human being as associated with the world has an internal structure of pre-understanding. But he himself is unaware of that inert understanding. That is, it is the nature of design, it is the nature of being in the world that it reveals itself, it discloses itself. But the human being, the actual concrete human beings, are unaware of this capacity of him. So for Heidegger, a philosopher's task only is to make him aware about this capacity, this internal structure, which is understanding for him and which is not at all cognitive but existential in nature. So this existential internal structure, which is regarded by Heidegger as understanding, is the disclosure of being, which is the ultimate purpose of his hermeneutic phenomenology. Now, you know, Heidegger is not at all easy. I have tried my best to give you a glimpse of his philosophy and philosophical method. It will be better if you read on your own later on. Now, this Western philosophical journey, I would like to end with Lyotard, a forerunner of postmodern philosophy. Nowadays, postmodernism, post-postmodernism, all these terms are very much there in the knowledge situation, especially in social science and literature and philosophy. But I'm not going to grapple on the complexities of postmodernism. I am going to just mention one thinker. I would like to take him as a thinker, Lyotard, who is a forerunner of postmodern philosophy. Here, I would like to mention that though Heidegger did not belong to the postmodern era, the so-called postmodern era, his contribution in developing postmodern philosophy was also great. But I don't have time today to talk about that. I would like to mention only a few things about Lyotard. That is, after World War II, after the devastation of the war, thinkers in the West gradually understood the futility of the way of legitimation of modernity. Now, the legitimation of modernity, the claim of modernity, is the advocacy of science. They have said after the scientific revolution that just look at the world, that is, science and technology with their power have made the world so much better, and there is only progress and progress. But then there were 2 world wars. Now, in these two world wars, people and mainly the thinkers, the scholars, have come to understand that science and technology had their bad sides also, the demerits also. And there was a very, very existential crisis, the anguish in human being that no, modernity is not the ultimate solution. Only the advocacy of science and technology shouldn't be there. That should also be critically estimated. And I think postmodernism is such a critical response to modernity. And Lyotard, Jean-Francois Lyotard,
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Madam, you are not audible.
ম্যাডাম বোধহয় সমস্যা হয়েছে দেখছি।
কি হয়ে গেল কোনটা ওই মিটিং এর কথা বলছো?
স্যার প্লিজ।
ম্যাডাম বেরিয়ে গেছেন একটুখানি, এক্ষুনি উনি জয়েন করছেন। ম্যাডাম একটু আনমিউট করুন।
yes, I'm very sorry. I have thought that there is connection.
Okay,
I
madam.
think,
Okay, madam.
no, actually, I think that no screening is required because I have come to the end of my discussion. That is, I was actually talking about Lyotard, and Lyotard has understood that the society is going through a crisis. Going through a crisis, and this crisis actually has been generated by the incredulity towards meta-narrative, which is the method of legitimation of everything by meta-narrative. Now, so meta-narrative, the dependence on meta-narrative, the dependence on these grand narratives like philosophical systems or other grand systems, the other local claims could not be legitimized because according to Lyotard, there were local narratives and local branches of knowledge also, which have been perpetually negated by this grand narrative method. So, a reaction towards this grand narrative method was introduced by the forerunner called Lyotard. I will not take much time. I have already finished my PPT presentation, but I haven't done justice. I haven't done justice to Indian philosophical methodology, as I have told that it is not possible in a lecture to do justice both to the Western philosophical method and Indian philosophical method. But I would like to sum up my talk with the mentioning of the very rich heritage of methodology in classical Indian philosophy, which was also very, very old, but they have developed a very astute and grounded methods to do their philosophy. There was dialectics, there was other different kind of reductio arguments, there was even phenomenological approaches we find in Buddhist system and in Neo system and in other systems of Indian philosophy. But today there is no time, I think, to talk about those. And I thank you for your patient hearing. And I again thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to present some of my views. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. We are really enriched in your presentation. Now I request participants, if there are any suggestions or question, they can proceed.
I know that you have come from different disciplines, so must have many of my discussions would be new to you, but I have tried my best to use very common language, ordinary language to present the philosophical views and methodologies. And I know for the first time, since you are acquainted with it, it will be a bit difficult to digest.
So I request Noor Alam Mondal, Professor Noor Alam here.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Please continue.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, ma'am. Your valuable word and your experience, you share the all things. And I especially thanks Mr. Dr. Shukdev Das, ma'am also, and present everybody. Then again, here, good afternoon. Then here, anybody, any question, please tell me. Yeah, ask your question, ma'am. Anybody, any question? No question or no problem. Okay. And then
either they haven't understood anything or they have understood everything. These are the two alternatives left. No,
no problem now.
Just joking. I think they will think it over. It's a new thing. They must think it over. And if they have any question, they can always ask me later on if possible. Okay?
Your ma'am, thank you so much, ma'am. Your valuable your word and your very good explain the everything. Your doubt are all clear. And then another one, thanks your all participate and present the all organization and
Okay. Very nice.
Yes, you explained things in such nice manner. It was absolutely no room left.